Hi friends, welcome to the Unit R Day 3 notes for college algebra. Today we're going to be looking at some different ideas with properties of exponents. We're really going to jump into scientific notation and then also review polynomials. In this first example here with the properties of exponents, we have the name of the property, which we've already listed down in this table here, the rule property for all cases, and then I also have a column for the example. So starting off, the product of powers property means that if I take, say, x to the a, and I'm multiplying that times x to the b, then what I can do with a and b, because those bases are the same, that's what that means by saying that they're both x, is that I can do x to the a plus b. So we add, when we multiply powers with the same base, we add the exponents. An example of that is if I have x squared times x to the fifth, then I would add 2 plus 5 and get x to the seventh power. The power of a power property means that if I take some base, say x raised to the a power, and then that's raised to the b power, so x to the a power, then raised to the b power. What you do then, if you have a power to a power, then you multiply x to the a times b. Example of this, if I have x squared raised to the fourth power, then that gives you x to the eighth. The next one's the power of a product property. The power of a product property means that if I have essentially, say, x times y here in parentheses, and then I'm raising both of those to the a power, then what happens is you have x to the a power and then y to the a power. So if x, y in parentheses, all raised to the a power, then essentially each of those gets raised to that power. An example of this would be if I have, let's do a and b and then cubed, and notice where the parentheses are, the quantity a, b cubed, then that gives me a cubed, b cubed. Now this works differently if you have like a coefficient or a constant. So if I have 2 times c cubed, what happens is you actually go through and process 2 cubed and you get 8, and then c cubed. So be careful on situations where you combine both constants, or in this case coefficients, and variables. The negative exponent property means that we take the reciprocal of the value. So I have x to the negative a power. That's going to give me 1 over x to the a. Now, a lot of students think reciprocal, they see it and it moves to the denominator. Do not fall in that trap. It's the reciprocal property. Because it's reciprocal, if it's already in the denominator, such as this case, then it's going to move to the numerator. And you end up with a situation like that. So if I have x to the negative second power, then I end up with 1 over x squared. But if I start out with, say, 1 over y to the negative third power, then I end up with y cubed. Just the part that has the negative exponent moves. We'll see some examples of that later. The zero exponent property means that anything raised to the 0 power is 1, as long as x is not 0. So x cannot be 0. And it's just that part that's raised. So if I have 2x squared y cubed z to the negative 7, if all of this is raised to the 0 power, that is just 1. So all of it's raised to the 0 power. It's 1. If you have something that's outside the parentheses, though, say if I had 3 times 4ab to the 0 power, just this part is raised, or just this part is raised to the 0 power. So this part becomes 1, but I still have a 3 there, so 3 times 1, so you'd be left with 3. So be careful. That's where some students make mistakes. If I have a quotient of powers, that means I'm dividing. So if I have x to the a over x to the b, so divided by, then what's happening is you would subtract these two. So you would x to the a minus b power. So x to the a minus b, like all of that, subtract all of it. An example is if you had, say I had x to the 8th over x squared. If you subtract that, 8 minus 2, so you'd have x to the 6th. And then the power of a quotient property means if I have a situation like x over y, and then parentheses here all raised to the b power, then you end up with x to the b power divided by y to the b power. Example of this, if I have x squared over y cubed, all raised to the second power, then I'm going to have x to the fourth, and then y to the sixth. Remember, power to a power, you multiply. So these are the properties, these are the names of all of those. We'll jump in the next video and we'll go through and simplify. See you soon.